Yeah, I'm just on that rough bit of dirt track that leads to our house from the highway, and I've been at the Vidasto restaurant and had a late lunch there. Had some things to do, but while I was at Vidasto, they have a good signal there, so I'm able to go on Wi-Fi. And I was looking through Facebook, and as I looked through there, you know, everybody knows now, if you go on Facebook at all, you'll know that it's about 50% is advertisements. One of the advertisements that I saw, which I thought was disturbing, it's not disturbing in terms of how things are now, but in the way that I can remember, very disturbing. It was for an app that you could put in your phone. I never went into it exactly how it works, but you can put this app into your phone and then do something to the phone of your loved one. Perhaps I should use that term very lightly, and you would know wherever they were. So it's kind of, this is how much things have changed now. I can remember when I was at school, okay, I'm an old guy, so I remember a long time ago. I was born at the outset of the war. I'm a middle child, and if you know anything about psychology and families, you know that the middle child always gets blamed for everything. And I'd just like to say now that the Second World War was not my fault, okay? But to get serious, I can remember having scraps at school, not too many. I'm no great hero when it comes to deciding to fight somebody for something which in the end turns out to be rather unimportant. But I can remember that kids back then they would never kick someone. That if they were fighting, these schoolyard, what can we call them? They're not really fights, are they? But kids do get hurt, by the way, when they have these so-called fights. But squabbles in which kids would wrestle and smack each other, and one would be down. I can remember that kids would wait until their opponent got up before they'd start scrapping again. And I can remember if you didn't do that, you were actually not thought very highly of. And another thing, if you kicked somebody when they were down, which is common practice now, this is what is advised, but you would be thought very badly of. And I'm just thinking now, with this thing, I'm trying to swat a fly that's there. It's going to distract me. I'm just thinking now that things have changed so much. Now you can track, as I said from the ad, you can track your loved one, and it's a little bit like being your own snitch, isn't it? Remember, the idea, the description of someone who tells tales is a snitch. It's not something that you would call somebody that you admired. It's not a term of endearment or of respect, is it? It's a snitch. He was a snitch. And even police, certainly on the movies, on Hollywood movies, they'll always go, yeah, well, he was my snitch. But he never had much respect for his snitch, even if he depended upon him. So people are being encouraged now to become snitches, and it's a disturbing thing because it separates everybody. Only my opinion. It separates everybody, doesn't it? Because you can be a snitch and it's okay if you're a snitch, whereas at one time you would hate to be known as a snitch. So I'm looking at that. I'm looking at the idea, what was the other expression? A stool pigeon or a stoolie. Someone less than the normal, if only potential hero. Was never a snitch. He was a cowardly thing. It was someone who told tales. My mother, I was one of 3 children. As I say, I was the middle child. I had an older sister by 7 years and a younger brother also by 7 years. We didn't tell tales on each other without being told by my mom or my dad, hey, don't tell tales, okay? You're a telltale tit, little things that you said to a child. And this is how it was then, but now look at how it is. We're being encouraged to tell on our neighbours. We're being encouraged to be in judgment of other people and then tell tales. Telling tales is not a thing that's thought badly of anymore. You can now do something. You can be in the Philippines they call it a concerned citizen, which means that you can tell tales on someone. Now, I'm not turning this particular video into something where look what happened to me, somebody told tales on me, but someone actually wrote to President Duterte and said Terence isn't wearing his mask properly, President. Now, what that tells you is what the person's mindset was, that he would think. I mean, what's the subtext of that? You know that there's the text, what you're actually saying, and then there's what's underneath is what's being implied, the underneath message, right? You could say to someone, oh boy, don't you look great? But actually what you mean is you're telling the person that they look like crap. Text and subtext. So what's the subtext of someone who writes to the president about Terence not wearing his mask properly because you've got to be concerned because he's going to infect the whole of Bohol with COVID? So what is he saying to the president? As if the president reads a letter like this. He's saying, never mind about the Chinese and the islands that they're building off the Philippines. Never mind all that. Terence isn't wearing his mask properly. We're becoming snitches. And it ain't nice, is how I feel. This is a short video. Sorry about that. Just in answer to a comment that someone made, please tell Beth that she should not make these thousands. She said Beth is posting 1,000 videos that are very small. And of course I had to say politely, with respect, we've never posted 1,000 videos in a day. It's just not possible. See, so some videos are long and some videos are short. Actually, I'm looking now and this is going to be about 10 or 12 minutes. So probably those of you who don't like to sit still for too long and listen to somebody waffling on are probably quite relieved that this isn't a marathon meandering. But it was inspired by that particular ad that I saw about putting something into your wife's or husband's phone which will tell you exactly where they are. Mind you, if you think about it, exactly where have I exactly been today? I've been out this afternoon exactly, and I've been to Taliban, and I've been to Alturas. And I've also been to what we call the Chinese shop, because it's full of cheap stuff. Sorry, Mr. Chinaman, wherever you are, but it's cheap stuff. And I had to buy something in there which I couldn't buy anywhere else. Now, when I get my receipt, if my wife so desires, she can look at the receipts of everything that I bought, and she'll see a time and a place. Even the cash registers are being snitches. Anyway, light is gradually drawing down. I'm at that time of the day where we're on the last light. The sun has gone. We're just looking at light reflected in a big sky. So I can see up ahead that I'm going to have to pick up possibly two of the kids from the house, Taliklik or maybe BB or DC. So I'll end off here anyway. Thanks for listening. Bye. And one thing that I did mean to mention when I was talking about the demise of good fair play ethics, and I can remember my father would say to me that I've forgotten how he put it, but it probably would translate to scumbag now, but he used to say only the lowest of the low will steal the tools of a man's trade. So in other words, if somebody broke into your place, the one thing that they wouldn't steal, because it just wasn't fair play, they wouldn't steal the tools of your trade, because that would take away your chance, or certainly decrease your chance to be able to earn a living. So they would tend to do things like that, and it was called, what was it called, honour among thieves. That there were some things that even a thief would not do. And one of the things that I gradually saw coming in, or I saw coming in gradually, was not hitting an elderly person. A thief or a robber would not harm a person who was of elderly age. Now, I'm not talking now to I'm not trying to make a covert announcement to thieves, so don't hit me. But it's true to say that a robber would not hurt an old person. Whereas now, what have we seen? What have we seen in, certainly in Australia? We've seen how old people are knocked to the ground by the police and even pepper sprayed. And one particular one that I saw was that, as it turned out, it was a 70-year-old woman, and she was pushed to the ground and pepper sprayed by quite a big brute of a policeman, a heavily built policeman, okay? And then as another policeman passed the inert figure of the woman, he sprayed her with pepper spray just because he could. It didn't happen, certainly in my parents' day, it never happened. I'm not saying that they were not domestic, what shall we say, violent quarrels. I'm not saying that, but there was a rule. The rule was there that had to be broken. So there was a rule, and it yes, it was broken, but in the main it was kept to, because people actually thought more of themselves, and they didn't do that. So the snitch, the violence against older people, these are things now which have become totally degraded. They're there, and people are gonna snitch on you, and they're gonna snitch behind your back. And this is happening now, especially with the internet, which which we suffer from. I get a lot of letters from people who want to do what Beth and I do. Beth and I have a registered charity, and we help the less fortunate. And because of that, for some reason, people are, a certain section of the community or the society are upset by that and don't like it. And so as soon as you raise your head or raise your hand to help, it can be cut down. And if they can, they will. But all of this is in line with the idea of the snitch. Someone who, for instance, when someone snitches on someone else, he doesn't reveal himself. So trolls and haters and bashers, whatever you particularly like to call them, they don't have the courage to stand up and point the finger and say, he did this, he did that, I saw him, I stand up on my statement. Well, strangely enough, when all of the real attacks started on Beth and I, with someone I think was called Peter Smith, a scumbag, wrote anonymously to the DSWD. And at that time, when we learned about this, I said to the DSWD, don't you require ID for this person so that the accused can face his accuser? No, it's not in our mandate. So I said, so you accept an anonymous call with an unsubstantiated allegation? And they said, yes, we have to investigate it. Imagine a situation like that. And it still is in play, except that now it seems like, I'm not claiming credit for this, but they have now told me that in order for a complaint to be valid, it must be a sworn statement with ID given. So now, exactly what I said straight away, well, don't you require to see ID? Otherwise, who knows what this person did? He could accuse any one of you on the DSWD of corruption. And so you're telling me that you would have to investigate each other? I don't think so. So now it seems that we have moved forward a tiny step. And as 60 Minutes in Australia, 2 programs of 60 Minutes in Australia, you can look this up. One was Erin, was it Erin Moran? Not quite sure. Her name was Erin, and she was quite a well-known presenter, pretty lady, and she suffered greatly from anonymous calls and texts and all kinds of harassment. And they made a 60-minute program about it. And another one who was a football coach who actually quit his job because of the harassment of these people. But now they're saying it's time that they are accountable. So snitches apparently may actually be asked to pay to be accountable for that. That was all I wanted to say. A little addition, a PS if you like, to the video that I just made.